Welcome to Gabs with CJ and Jonny. I'm CJ and here's Jonny.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, Jonny. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. What about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing dandy, thank you, sir. I've had a long day. I've been out with the boy to play golf today at the driving range. I've come back. I've had a little bit of a play of the guitar. I've got a new amp, a few new pedals, so it's been good all round.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. Well, I've just been looking after our little house guest Jack, who you've already met. Let's just see if he wants to come on camera quickly. This is Jack, everybody.
Hello, Jack again.
There you go, look. That's Jack. Yeah, and he's been a good boy today.
Good boy.
Of course, I did the gig Saturday that you knew about.
Yeah.
Band, and that all went well. So yeah, it's one of those.
Good. So, Jonny, well, welcome to our very first podcast together. It's fantastic to join you here. I love the content that you do on your own channel, the Budget Guitar Show. If you're watching us for the very first time today, get along to his channel, support him, donate to him, keep up with the content that he's producing because it's fantastic. A little bit of news today. Obviously, we've lost two major musicians in the last couple of weeks. One of them we all know as a legendary bassist, Dusty Hill of ZZ Top. Such sad news, you know, one of the greatest bassists and one of the greatest bands, rock bands, especially blues, that we've ever seen in our generation. And it was so heartbreaking to hear of his death. But on a personal note, I would like to also not just dedicate the show to Dusty, but also to Joey Jordison, because Joey Jordison was the drummer of Slipknot, and for me, Slipknot was a band that got me through a lot of troubles in the last 15-20 years. The music has been a joy for me. It's not everyone's cup of tea, you know, the band is not everyone's cup of tea, but for me it meant so much to me. Watching Joey fill in for Lars at Metallica Download was absolutely an amazing experience. Watching how the band has evolved through album after album, watching how they grew as a band from the first time they were on, was it TGI Fridays with, not T, is it TFI Friday? The thing with Chris Evans years and years ago.
That's right.
And there was such an inspiration to me, and he was one of the founders. Obviously, they lost Paul Gray a couple of years ago, and then Joey. And Joey suffered in the last sort of 6-7 years with something called transverse myelitis, which is the same thing that I was sort of diagnosed with a couple of years ago, which is a form of MS. Now, I think Joey had it a lot worse than what I had it as.
Right.
And I can really sympathize with him because I struggle with my music. And so that's, I want to dedicate this first show to these guys, to these amazing musicians who brought a lot of joy into people's lives. Yeah, so with that over with, got a little bit of news. First off, Jonny, have you heard the news about this new Gibson deal with Hammett? I thought it was quite out of left field, because not only have Gibson now got Dave Mustaine, so obviously he was with Dean and then he came with Gibson. They've now got Hammett as well. And Kurt was used to playing ESP guitars, or a different type of guitars, and I don't know whether it's because of him, because of Kurt buying Greenie Mirror, that Gibson have done this type of deal with him.
That's exactly what it is. because he's bought Greeny Moore. I mean, I know he's had Greeny Moore for it's got to be at least a good few months, but I think it's their way of being able to tie in at some point a Kirk Hammett Greeny Moore signature thing, because I think that's gonna, let's be honest, guitar companies, they're in it for the money. We know that because of the budget stuff that we, use. But they're in it for the money. If they can attract a big name and then a few months down the line, bring out a signature series, and especially with Kirk owning the iconic Greeny Moore, and of course, if they want to put out a version of it, they've got to borrow the Greeny Moore to get everything correct. So I think it's a money thing. I don't think it's something for the fans, because we've seen the way that they've gone with their Epiphone series of Slash. They first put out the Gibson Slash series. Then they thought they'd milk it a bit more by putting out the Epiphone series, which is slightly cheaper, but they know people are going to buy it if they've got these people involved. I mean, Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols, for instance, he used a white Les Paul from 1976 and or even 1975, but they didn't actually give him a signature series until 2002. It was.
And they didn't even copy that guitar properly, did they?
No, they didn't. They actually went off photographs, because the original guitar is owned by some guy in either Pennsylvania or Texas, one of the two. So they only went off photographs of it, and the stock of what was in it at the time. So I think, them getting all these stars, and then bringing out their signature models of the guitars, it's purely a money thing. From my point of view, mate, I'm looking at you now, it's purely a money thing.
I think you're correct. I think it's not something the fans have asked for, really. There's not really been a, can I have a Hammett signature Gibson or a signature ESP? It's not something that necessarily we would want, and you're tending to find, not even with Slash, I don't think, as well. There's not people who, I want a Slash-like guitar. They want something that is Les Paul that looks like it, so they'll look like they're playing like Slash, but not necessarily something that's signature that says it on it. And I think I think they should be designing guitars that are similar but don't have the name value on it, because we're finding it with Fender as well. They just overhype these things, and unfortunately with Gibsons, a lot of the Gibsons, especially in the last couple of years, haven't been the best quality. And I don't think it's beneficial for fans just to buy a Kerr Hammett Greeny Mirror just because, one, it's Greeny Mirror, and two, because Kerr Hammett has it. They should reproduce it faithfully and just call it the Greeny or something like that, not the Kerr Hammett Greeny Mirror or Peter Green or whatever. And I think they should go down that route, just a generic name, and not try and fleece fans out of money just for the name value of it. And
I do agree. I mean, I think as people can see the studio here behind me, I have a couple of iconic guitars. I have obviously the Steve Jones. That is actually an Epiphone, but it's had the pickups put in that were in the original 74. And the Joe Strummer was actually made for me. That is actually a Squier bass, a Squier bass, but it's all being sorted out now. Those, if I wanted Fender's actual Joe Strummer Telecaster that they bought out a few years back, that would set me back about £8,000 or £9,000. That one there to build, I'm told it was £150 and about a month's worth of work. That's it.
And that's how you need guitars. I mean, for me personally, as a guitarist, I don't buy a guitar because it's a Kurt Cobain signature, or it's a I'm just trying to think, Steve Jones guitar or something like that. I buy a guitar for, like, I'm very much into my Japanese guitars at the moment. So I mean, my Greco here is a Japanese 1970s lawsuit guitar, fantastic guitar. You know, it sings beautifully. You know, and I go because it's Greco. Okay, it's not a massive big name. It's a lawsuit. I go on the what's the word? I go on the history of that particular guitar. You know, it's got history, it's got mojo, it's got a story to tell, not necessarily because it's a Greco or Orville or Gibson. It's because it's just a normal guitar. It's, you know, it's a guitar I've seen on Reverb and bought. You know, I didn't need it to be a Pete Townsend guitar for me to buy it. I needed it to be a guitar that I wanted to love, own and cherish and have and play and feel great about it. People like signature guitars, just not for me. I'd rather have a Japanese guitar now, or guitar that's well made. Even you know, on the low end of the spectrum, you know, I'd rather have a low end Harley Benton than some of the higher end £600-700 signature guitars, because you're just buying the name of,
that's
like,
right.
not the brand name, but the person name. Like Schecter do the PT specials. If I was to buy that Schecter, I couldn't face myself paying out just because it's a PT special, because it's named Pete Townsend special. It's not a signature as such, but it's associated with that. And I could never buy one because I would feel that I'm just buying it for the name rather than the actual guitar.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the moment that you know, they have the Brian Moore Red Special, and now he's got his own company making the Brian May, sorry, not Brian Moore, but the Brian May Red Special, and the thing is, those are, I think the cheapest you can pick one up for, which is the lower end of the Brian May Red Specials, is about £800. But if you go on Tommen's website, you can pick up an identical copy of it for, I think it's £280. And from, I've not played one myself, but from the reviews, all you might want to do is swap out the pickups and put in, you know, the next best thing, and you're away. You're never going to sound like Brian May, because you're not Brian May. I'm not Steve Jones. I'm not Johnny Thunders or Joe Strummer. You know, I'm never going to sound like them, but I can look like it. I can look like it, but you know, to me, I don't care if it says Gibson, if it says Kirk Hammett, if it says Fender, you know, if it says Joe Bloggs. If
as long as it plays well and sounds well, and you know, it fits to your specs, and that's the way to do it. It's interesting. Sorry, you just mentioned Tommen there. There's something else I wanted to talk about today, if you don't mind, Johnny. Was Reese, I think since this whole Brexit, now I'm not going to go down the whole Brexit thing with you, but since Brexit, we had the issue where Tommen had to reevaluate the way they did their pricing. Obviously, under £135, you still got charged I think the shipping fee, and then you had the VAT added onto it by Tommen, and then it got shipped out, and you didn't pay the VAT at customs. It came straight to you. But anything over the top of that, you then had to have customs charges, and you had to have you had the delivery charge, and then whatever. But about a month ago, Tommen changed the way that they did this, and I've noticed that since they've done this, they've been quite sneaky with their pricing, quite clever. I don't think they've done it out of badness, but for example, I've talked about on some things with you, my Harley Benton DC Custom in white, about a year ago, that was about £141 just on base price alone. Now you can't get them for more than £191, £192, and that's just at the set level. A lot of their bases, a lot of the HB 35s, you know, the hollow body ones, the ones that look like 335s. I think they were about £171. last year sometime, and now they're nearly like over £200. The prices seem to have gone up. So in a way, we're not really saving like we used to with Tommen. They're still charging. They're
Yeah,
still charging quite a lot.
Not over. I agree. We're not saving anything over the sort of £135 mark.
Yeah.
I know that things like the my favourite guitar that they've ever put out, the T20HH. That when I bought mine, that was £89 plus £8 shipping, and it still is.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why is because the more expensive items, I think they're paying more in insurance to their courier service, because something like that gets damaged. Our recourse as the buyer is basically to say, oh, my guitar's come damaged, and then they have to put it right, but they then claim that back from their shipping company. So I think the reason why the higher end stuff has crept up in price is because I think they're paying more to try and get a better service out of their shipping companies. For something that's £89, they're not all that bothered. To a company like Tommen, that's nothing. So I think that's what it is in effect, why those prices have gone up.
So, no, I can agree with that. Okay.
So I think that's why that is. But that said, there is a company that I've had a lot of dealings with, and I do still continue to have dealings with. It's a company called Bax Music, and they have a brand called Faisley. Now, let me just state this right now. Faisley, there is nothing wrong with Faisley guitars. For the budget player, they are absolutely fine. But the main company, Bax Music. Now, we were talking about pricing there, and one thing that they've done is on their website, they show you a price of a particular guitar. I don't know, let's say one of these, which is one of theirs, the white Les Paul. Now, on the website, you can buy that for, I think it's £128, but next to that, they have another price crossed out, which is about £180. Now, they've never been £180 at all. That's a practice which I'm not too keen on. It's making you think you're getting a greater deal. I just want them to be honest about their prices and say, look, it's this much. You're not getting any money off, because they never were that price to begin with. But as I say, that said, and I know there's a lot of bad blood out there for Bax Music. I had problems with them, but they did try their best to do something about it. And I do think Faisley guitars, for their price point, are very good. There are others out there. I think some of obviously Harley Benton's are fantastic. They would, for me, they would be the next level up. And there are some Glarrys out there that are really good. But
definitely,
mate, I think it's a case of be honest with your customers. That's what I think. Be open and transparent.
I think that's one of the reasons Glary are so popular at the moment. I think Glary look after their consumers a lot in terms of if there's mistakes or if there's something wrong. I mean, people might say, no, Chris, you're talking out your backside, but I'm just going from experience. If I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up to it. But I've always felt and seen that when people have had issues with Glary have sorted it out and bent over backwards to try and get it sorted for them.
They did with me. I bought one of their ST guitars, their Strats in
Yeah.
green, and my idea was to review it on my channel. So I got it, and I had a friend of mine who's a guitar tech look at it, and he basically said, this thing, it's at the moment, it's a plank. It's heavily backbowed on the neck.
Yeah.
This is wrong with it, that's wrong with it. It's not set up. So I spoke to them and I said, well, my friend's looked at it and he tells me to do a proper job on it, it's going to cost the same amount as the guitar to put it all right. Quick as a flash, they said to me, no problem, we'll send you another one. I said, well, do you want me to send this one back? Because I've gone ahead and started to have the work done out of my own pocket. No, here you go. We'll send you another one. They sent another one through and that was fine. Nothing wrong with it at all. You know, the only thing I wasn't keen on with those guitars were the pickups. But there again, you get what you pay for with budget brands. I wasn't expecting them to be excuse me, I wasn't expecting them to be fantastic and, you know, worth their weight in gold, because they're not. But for a beginner guitar, they're absolutely fine.
So that brings a conclusion to the news.
Okay, CJ, do you have any gear reviews today?
Oh, I do, Johnny. I'm glad you asked, actually. I've just invested in a couple of new pedals and an amplifier in the last week or so, because I'm going to be getting back into my guitaring, and I wanted to get something that complemented my rig and the sound that I like to have out of a rig. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you today, well, the first two things I'm going to show you are two pedals. The first pedal is a pedal that is my go-to pedal, okay? And it is this. It is a TC Electronic tailspin vibrato pedal. It's a 2-knob pedal, okay, one on-off switch. But as a vibrato, you put this against most cheap reverb pedals and most high-end reverb pedals, and it sounds absolutely beautiful. I would stick this on any pedal board over something like a Univibe, over anything that's, you know, over 70, 80 quid for, you know, for like vibrato, chorus, flanger pedals, whatever anyone makes. This is just purely a vibrato pedal, and it sounds fantastic. It's not very noisy, and these things, you can get them online, new and cheap, for about £30, which would be new, £35, which would be new. On the second-hand market, you're looking at about £25. But I've fully recommend getting a tailspin and getting it on your pedal board just for that vibrato sound. It is fantastic. So that's.
Is there anything that you don't like about that pedal?
Yeah. The one thing I hate about the pedal, unfortunately, it's not a great pedal for batteries. Normally you would have like you would have a bottom or a back on it, or something on the back, or somewhere else you could physically fit the battery. Now this can accommodate one of those batteries, but what you have to do is you have to unscrew the side of it just to get into it.
Right.
So you can see, like, so for a gig, it wouldn't be very good putting a battery in it, because I'd have to unscrew the side of it, get the battery into it, close it up again, and then screw it in again. Because if I kept pressing on that on a pedal board, it's just going to slip and slide all up. That's the only one thing I really dislike about it, to be honest.
So they're a great pedal for the price, but make sure you get a 9-volt adapter if you want to get one of those.
Yes, and it is like this here. So this is what I mean. So if you don't know what we mean about 9-volt adapter, it's a little cable. Okay, so that goes into the plug, and that goes onto the end of a battery, 9-volt battery. The battery clips onto it, and then that goes into the pedal. I will say, if you're using something like this, every time you switch your pedal board off or whatever, remember to unplug these, because these will still drain even though the pedal is off, even though the pedal board is off, and you'll go through 9-volt batteries like cheese. So unplug this and turn the rest of your rig off, and then it just preserves your batteries. So that was the first pedal.
You can also stick in a 9-volt power supply as well.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. I find sometimes with cheaper pedals though, it's hit and miss whether you do it with a battery like that or whether you do a 9-volt power supply.
Yeah.
Some of them can be really noisy with the 9-volt power supply plugged in. Some of them are quieter with the batteries. Some of them tend to work a little bit less effectively with the 9-volt battery plugged into it. Some of them work more effective. So it's hit and miss with these cheaper pedals.
Okay.
But I mean, for example, one quick thing. I've got a pedal here, another cheap pedal called the Time Space, which is a delay pedal by a company called K-Line.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to plug a 9-volt into that, a 9-volt power supply into that, because otherwise it's very weak running off a battery. I don't know why. I don't know if it's how it's made. It's just always been very weak. So I won't plug a 9-volt like a battery into that directly, just because it won't work effectively. Right, the next one I wanted to actually review and talk about is another company. Some people call it Nuix or however they want to pronounce it. I call it Nux. Now, Nux were a company that I was introduced to, sorry about that noise, about 2 years ago, and I bought one of their chorus pedals, and it was absolutely stonking chorus pedal for 30, well, it was for £25. Beautiful chorus pedal, 4-knob thing, and it just sounded great. And if you can get the original ones that say Nux on it, they're quite rare now. I fully recommend getting them, especially now because Amazon only do the twin note versions of them. So this is the same pedal, but they're just called differently. So anyway, because of my history with Nux and because of the chorus pedal I like, I decided to. I've always had issues with getting a nice drive pedal. I've always I've never been able to get a right drive for me. I mean, I've had OCD pedals. I've had TS9s. I've had lots of different overdrive pedals in the past, and this pedal is £35 from Nux. It is almost silent to plug in a 9-volt power supply on it. It's got master volume, it's got a preamp, so it'll just boost it slightly through the signal slightly through. It's got a tone and it's got a presence on it as well. And for the money, you can't argue with it. It's also got a battery case at the back, so obviously I'm pleased with that.
How much does that retail for?
That's £35. I got this from a company called Juno. I think it was Juno Music online. There's a couple of other places that are doing them, but it's a fantastic drive pedal. It's not over the top. It doesn't try and sound like a distortion, but it doesn't try and be too timid like a blues driver. It sounds between, if I mashed up an Angry Charlie by GHS and the Blues Driver, but didn't have all the fancy switching on it and just left it in the middle section, it sounds a bit like both of them. You can get a very blues drivery feel to it, but you can get a very angry Charlie feel to it as well, just with the knobs. For £35, you really can't go wrong. So fully recommend that for anyone's pedal board. If you want a cheerful, nearly noiseless pedal, I would fully recommend the Nux, and it's called the Plexi Crunch. It doesn't really sound like a plexi, but it does have a nice crunch to it. So that's it to everyone's all. And then the last little bit of equipment I want to promote is, well, not promote, review. Sorry, is I've just got myself a new little amp, nice little 15-watt amp, Black Star debut. As you can see, it's got a gain channel, it's got its equalizer, the LF, the what's it called, the ISF mode, which one way sounds like a British amp, another way sounds like an American amp, and it's also got a delay feature on it. And for what it's worth, I used to like those Vox Pathfinders, even though they were 10-watt things. And I got this a couple of days ago, and it's fantastic, especially with that drive pedal. Sounds fantastic, sounds lovely. when I'm not got the drive pedal on it, and when I'm playing cleans and reverb through it as well, it sounds an absolutely fantastic thing. And I bet you can't guess how much that cost for a 15-watt thing with delay
Right,
on it.
okay. Well, I've seen some 15 watt amps about, and they're probably about 50 or 60 pounds.
Okay, you're close. You're close. Yeah, I got this for £65. Now, to think of the
That's good.
Vox Pathfinders, the Vox Pathfinders are about 70, 77, 80 quid for a 10-watt amp.
Yeah,
Obviously, you know, it's probably on Vox, but in terms of really cheap and cheerful, maybe not the tiny little Katana. Probably that's the best one to get out of all of them. But in terms of a small little 15-watt practice amp that is going to last you a long time,
yeah,
that debut will do you the job. So if you're at home, if you're wanting something just to have a little jam to, you know, just to have a, if you want to crank it up a little bit so you're not going to annoy the neighbors, if annoy the dog, the cat, the wife, the mother-in-law, whoever you might annoy, get something like the Black Star debut, because even as a home amp, if I strapped a microphone to that and played it through a PA system, it would still be a fantastic little amp.
yeah.
And I don't say that about amps normally. I'm a bit of a Marshall fanboy with these Marshall codes, as you know I am, Johnny.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm a bit of also, I like my Vox amps as well. But it's the first time I've ever dealt in any like bought something that wasn't Vox, wasn't Marshall, and I just felt I'll just give it a go. I saw it, just bought it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fantastic. So I fully recommend to anyone at home, if you want to get them, I'm sure there'll be some links down in the channels from where you can get the Nux pedal, the Tailspin. We'll put one company that sells a Tailspin somewhere, and the Black Star debut as well.
So yeah, there you go, guys. We will put some links down in the description if you want to check those out. I think I'll actually be checking out one of those drive pedals to see what that's like. I might get one of those myself. But yeah, if you want to check those out, links are in the description below.
Now it's time for Johnny's rant. So, Johnny, will you tell us what's got up your nose this month, please, apart from bogies?
Well, yeah, apart from them, what's gone
Yeah.
up my nose is some of these guitar companies, especially the ones that make budget guitars, when you kindly say to them, oh, I'd be really interested in reviewing some of your equipment, maybe doing a deal and publicizing your brand. And they say, well, we've had a look at your channel and your content. You're very small and you need to have 2,000 subscribers and at least 2,000 views on your channel before they will even consider you to bestow upon you their £130 guitar for you to review for the purposes of promoting them.
Yeah.
Now, when you do guitar reviews, you get a guitar sent, you do your review, and normally within sort of 60 days, you have to send the guitar back, and then they will take that and sell it on as a B stock, right? So they're taking a small hit by sending it to you and then still being able to sell it with about £5 or $5 off, as a B stock. But how do they expect small channels to grow if they're not willing to let the small channels do the job, give them access to some of their cheaper gear? I mean, you know, me and you know both, we're both in the guitar community, mate, right? We know these big channels that have got thousands and thousands of subscribers and all of that. Yeah, that's great, but there was a time when they didn't have thousands and thousands of subscribers or thousands and thousands of video views, we all buy gear from these companies. And those of us that do have YouTube channels and podcasts like this, we say, oh yeah, that's good, that's bad. I think they should take a little calm down and say, look, if we help a younger channel, that younger channel is going to stick with us and they're going to continue to promote our brand in the long run. Not, oh yeah, they're going to just get a guitar or a pedal or a piece of gear and just go, yeah, that's really good, and that's it, and never use them again. I buy items from the companies that have sent me things for review. I've continued to put money in their coffers. I don't keep what they send me to review. I ship it back and they do what they do with it. But there are one or two that do help out the smaller channels. But this one that I was dealing with just last week, who said I needed 2,000 subscribers. I don't know whether I should mention them, but I think I will. Donna. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm saying if anybody from Donna does watch this, take a little calm down, because if you only want to be endorsed by the big guys, you're not leaving anything for us smaller guys. That's my rant for today. And that concludes CJ and Jonny's Gear Gabs for this episode. I'd like to thank everybody out there personally for watching and, you know, for getting into it and really giving it some time. Don't forget to check out the Budget Guitar Show here. Other than that, CJ, have you got anything you'd like to say?
No, I think we've covered everything for this month, Jonny.
Excellent. Well, he's been CJ.
And he is Jonny.
Thanks for watching the Gear Gabs. We'll see you next time. Take care.
See you next time. Bye.